What's up, big ballers, shot callers? Big Ken here. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully I got a good some good light here. Going live, trying to get some viewers. Kind of last second, but anyways, the topic for today's show going live is 2025 WNBA All-Star game was played yesterday. I got some stats on that, but the big thing I want to talk about is the shirts that all the WNBA players came out wearing saying, "Pay us what we deserve," something to that effect. Paraphrasing here, but I know it said something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to go over some WNBA All-Star stats, if I could get that out correctly without tripping over my tongue here. But big talk, pay us what we deserve. I definitely want to talk about that. I hope I'll get some live viewers. Maybe I should have waited another 15 minutes to go live. Maybe so people can see this and maybe chime in. But hopefully some people jump in when I'm doing this right now. Pay us what we deserve. I'm all about equal pay, so let's get that straight. I mean, man, woman, white, black, doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, doesn't matter what your religion is. If you can do the job, I believe people should get paid for that job. And that's not just sports related. This is just in general. For the WNBA though, I think they do deserve to get paid what they deserve. But here's the problem, and this isn't me being sexist. I know some people are going to think that, especially in this cancel culture today. If some of the WNBA players hear me saying this, they're going to try to completely cancel me. Probably not all of them. Can't put them all in the same rice bowl. It's not fair, but I wouldn't be surprised either way, though. I think they deserve to get paid what they deserve, but the problem is the revenue. Are they bringing in the revenue to get paid what the guys get paid? That's the big thing. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, it's all about the revenue. So we'll talk about that more in a second. But I'll go over some. There are some positives though about the WNBA All-Star game. Some pros and cons. I'll go over the good things first. First of all, it had the WNBA All-Star game. Still can't get it out. Had over 4 million viewers, the most in their league history. Last year they had over 3 million viewers. I guess you could call it the Caitlin Clark effect. I know a lot of WNBA players don't like that. They seem to have a problem with Caitlin Clark, in my opinion. But we'll talk about it more later. Also, at least some of them. But over 3 million viewers last year was a 305% increase from 2023. That is, I don't care what people say, what they think about Caitlin Clark, but that is the Caitlin Clark effect. And yes, there is other really good WNBA players. She's not the only one. I said that 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more times. She is not the only player. There's been some pioneers of the WNBA game, and it's not fair that they didn't get recognized. But for whatever reason, Caitlin Clark, her coming out of the University of Iowa, her last 2 seasons, University of Iowa going to back-to-back, championship games. Unfortunately, she fell short in both of them. Didn't quite have enough good teammates, or I won't say good teammates, but enough skilled teammates to kind of on her level to help bring home the ring. This is her and Kate Martin. But she's brought a lot of excitement to women's basketball in general since her last couple of years in college at Iowa and her first 2 years in the WNBA. But there are some other really good players that are tagging along with her, obviously. There was a really good draft class when Caitlin Clark got drafted. A lot of other really good players in her draft class. Obviously, Angel Reese is one of them. Camila Cardoso, the South Carolina Brazilian player, 6'7". She's a beast. And there's some other ones. There's some other big names. The number 2 pick, can't remember her name, tall blonde girl from Stanford. I think she played at Stanford. But anyway, she got hurt in the middle of the season in her first year, but she's really freaking good. I know her name. Sorry, I can't think of it, but she's another really good player from that draft class, and a few others. But for whatever reason, Caitlin Clark has just brought the hype. And of course, Juju Watkins is coming out. next year. We know this, or the year after. She probably played in college, but after college, she's going to come out. But she did have an injury, so hopefully she's recovering from that. So the WNBA is definitely in good hands. Real good, rookie this year is obviously Paige Buckers from UConn. She was in the WNBA All-Star game yesterday. She played well. So the women, there's a lot of definitely good women playing in the WNBA right now. So the WNBA is in good hands. There's no doubt about it. Some stats for the game. There were some records broke. It was Team Collier versus Team Clark. It was a blowout, but which a lot of All-Star games are. It was 151-131. Absolutely no defense played, just like the NBA. So I don't like that too much, but it was a very high-scoring game. Obviously, they had a 4-point shot, which is something that the NBA doesn't do, and they were taking a lot of 4-point shots, which is good and bad. But anyways, it was a blowout game, but records were broken. Like I said a second ago, Skylar-Diggins recorded the first triple double in WNBA All-Star game history. 11 points, 15 assists, 11 rebounds. Set an assist record with 15 assists, the most ever in a WNBA All-Star game. Nafisa Collier, who obviously was Team Collier. She was the captain. She scored 36 points, which is another WNBA All-Star game record. So those were some of the pros to what happened yesterday. The cons are, in my opinion, just like the NBA. All-Star game's horrible. No defensive being played. I know it's an All-Star game. I know people don't want to get hurt. I know they're not going to go all out. I understand that, but they got to play some kind of defense. It's just a joke in that regard, and that's been a big problem in the NBA. This is where I think the WNBA can be better. They should be better than the NBA about this. This is where the WNBA, in my opinion, can make their mark. Play a competitive game. The games used to be competitive in the WNBA. That was one thing that people liked about the WNBA. They liked the way they're playing the game compared to the men's side. But is the WNBA turned into the men's side, shooting too many threes, not playing defense, things like that? So WNBA needs to be careful, because the WNBA was getting viewers because obviously one, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and other good players coming out, but also because they liked a lot of people thought they're playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, not selling for shooting 53-point shots a game, things like that. So WNBA needs to be careful. The 4-point shot, I don't know what people think about that. I think there's pros and cons. It's kind of cool because it's a great idea from that standpoint. It's pretty innovative. Like, hey, that's kind of cool. That they came up with that. To be able to make a 4-point shot is kind of cool, and the fans might like it, because it's interesting. But the bad thing is they're shooting up way too many of those things, and sometimes they're missing badly, and it's taken away from the game. Like I was saying before, like it's making the game very uncompetitive. They're just playing bad basketball, so to speak. So I don't know, viewers, what are your thoughts? I'm trying to get people live here. I think, like I said before, I should have waited another 30 minutes to see if people could have saw that I was going live instead of going live right away. But hopefully people will watch it later on. But my biggest thing is, again, kind of rehash what we talked about in the first 8 or 9 minutes here, especially in case some people come on live. What do you think about this pay us what we deserve thing? Like I said, open up this show. I'm okay with equal pay, but the money's got to be there. I don't think it's there. I know for a long time the WNBA was losing money. I do think they've been making a revenue the past several years, but for a long time they were actually losing money, and the NBA is the one like standing these ladies up. So, like I said, I do think they come a long way, especially the last 2 or 3 years. But I just don't think we can pay them what the guys getting paid. And honestly, I think some of the guys in men's sports are making too much damn money. I'm not against people being rich playing the game playing sports. That's kind of like the all-American dream, rags to riches. I don't mind guys getting paid some millions of dollars, but some of these $250 million deals, not quite too sure about that. But I know they could pay it because the owners can pay those people that kind of money because the revenue they're bringing in. That's the point. They are bringing in the revenue whether you like it or not, so they can pay these guys that much money. But the WNBA just isn't getting that. They're just not quite getting the sponsors. Some people might think that's sexist, like the NBA gets sponsors because they're men. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not true. I don't know what to think about that. I want to know people's thoughts on that. In some ways, I just think the WNBA is their own worst enemy. I'm a perfect example. I love sports. I can watch any kind of basketball game, whether it's men's, women's, whatever the case may be. But the women's game just doesn't intrigue me quite as much as the men's. No offense, ladies. Please don't take that the wrong way, but it just doesn't. I don't think the excitement is there. Caitlin Clark is bringing excitement. Her games are very exciting. I watch her games even with Iowa. Like, there is an excitement level to her game. And there are some other NBA players like that. Juju Watkins, Paige Buckers has come out. Like I said, they're bringing excitement also. So there's some young stars on the rise that can really help out the WNBA. But as a whole, I just don't think that women's side of basketball, women's sports in general, is just as exciting as men's. And please don't take it the wrong way, ladies. I just don't think it is. Even when I ref high school basketball and middle school basketball, and it's kind of the same thing. Like, you can tell, like, the intensity and speed just isn't there compared to boys versus girls playing. Doesn't mean there's nothing against these young ladies. Please don't take it the wrong way, but I just don't think the excitement is there. Not quite the athleticism is there compared to the men's side. But these ladies can shoot, though. Arguably, women probably can shoot just as good, if not better, than guys. That's been proven. Women can shoot the basketball. There's no doubt about that. I think that's one edge they got on us. There's some really good shooters out there on the women's side. Obviously, Kate and Clark, but there's others. And they're better free throw shooters, too, in general. So they do have some pros. They do have some things on us above the guys. But as a whole, I just think the guys' game is more exciting. So what are your thoughts on that? But the women's game is on the rise. It is becoming more exciting, so that's a good thing. The Kate and Clark Angel Reese effect is part of that. This big rivalry with them is bringing viewers in. But here's my thing on Kate and Clark Angel Reese, and people again may not agree, disagree. Please leave your thoughts, comments. I don't know if everything I'm saying is true because you got to be careful what you read on social media. So I don't know if these are true or not, but I'm going to put them out there anyways. The people can comment on it one way or the other. Supposedly, I don't know if it's true, but supposedly Angel Reese has said, like, there won't be a Caitlin Clark without Angel Reese, and I don't agree with that. Yes, has Angel Reese brought excitement because of the rivalry with her, Caitlin Clark? Absolutely. But here's the thing, Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark was already making her name for herself at University of Iowa the past 2 seasons before she played you in the championship game, and you beat her and you did the whole ring thing. Look at this. Look at that. So yes, that did bring some hype. What Angel Reese did that, when she did that, yes, it sparked a huge rivalry. It sparked controversy. It brought in viewers. Whatever the case may be. So yes, that's true. But Caitlin Clark, my point is, Caitlin Clark was already a big deal before Angel Reese did that in the LSU Iowa game a couple years ago in the women's college, championship March Madness, right? So Caitlin Clark was already a well-known player. So you can argue that Caitlin Clark helped make Angel Reese. I don't know. Some people may not like that, but what's your thoughts on that? Angel Reese is a hustler, though. She has some good things to her game. I still don't like the way she can't shoot a basic layup. That drives me nuts. But she's a hustler. She's an excellent rebounder. She does things to help her team win games. Unfortunately, the Chicago Sky are having a really bad year this year, but it's not Angel Reese's fault. It's a team effort, right? It's a team thing. You can't blame Angel Reese on that. She does everything she can to help her team win games. And that's going in to talk about Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. What do you think about how Caitlin Clark is treated in the WNBA? Yesterday, everyone's all jokes and smiles because they're on national television. Like I said, over 4 million viewers. So congratulations to them on that. But, like, that's just the All-Star game, though, so they're gonna be on their best behavior. So I don't know. That's a good. I don't know what to think about that. Do they really like her, or was that just all for show yesterday? Because my opinion is what I've seen the past 2 years out of the WNBA is like a lot of girls don't like her. Some do, but there's a lot that don't, which I don't get it. Even NBA players have said that they're wrong. Famous NBA players, LeBron James, King James being one of them, who's still playing amazingly after 20 years. Michael Jordan, um, all kinds of really well. Those are the two most well known, but all kinds of NBA players besides Michael Jordan and you know LeBron James have said that the WNBA women are crazy. This is your cash cow. You need to protect your cash cow. Like you need to be supporting her because she is bringing in views and like I said, other players on the rise. Paige Buckers, Juju Watkins, like I already mentioned several times on this show right now. Like they're upcoming too. They can all bring in viewers to the WNBA. There seems to be a lot of jealousy and petty things about WNBA. I agree with what Charles Barkley said a couple years ago. These women are petty. He said that like 2 years ago in Caitlin Clark's rookie year. And I still think that's true. There's some serious pettiness. There's some really hard, cheap fouls on Caitlin Clark. I know it's competition. I know hard fouls are part of the game. I foul people hard myself when I've played basketball, and I've been fouled hard. So yes, it is part of the game. But there are some absolutely dirty fouls. Probably should be called technical. Some of these fouls have not been called technical fouls, and they probably should have been. And it's on Caitlin Clark. The comedian, I gotta bring him up. The comedian, for the ESPYS, Gillian, he was making jokes about NBA and Caitlin Clark, and he's like, "Oh, when Caitlin Clark retires from the WNBA, Waffle House and fight black chicks." That was funny. It's obviously very controversial, but it was funny because that basically saying is, yeah, Caitlin Clark is getting into a lot of fight with some of the black women in the WNBA, and that's no offense to black women because not all black women are doing that, obviously, in the WNBA, but there's a certain set of women that are, and so that's why he made the joke. Whether it's true or not, he made the joke. So interesting to say the least. Like protect your cash cow, man. But Caitlin Clark is injured this year. That's why she didn't play yesterday. I mean, I definitely think she's a legit all-star, but her stats, are struggling. She's shooting under 30% for 3-point range. Obviously, she's famous for hitting those logo threes, Steph Curry range kind of deal. But her stats, to be a good 3-point shooter, you need to be shooting like around 40%. All the really good 3-point shooters in the NBA are shooting 40% higher, and Caitlin Clark is under 30%. She needs to, as much as I love her, she needs to improve that part of her game. She needs to get that up. But she is getting fouled hard, and obviously she is play against the best women in the world. She's not in college anymore, so it's not going to come as easy to her as it was in college when she was just, making it look very easy, scoring over 30+ points a game, right? So, she is playing against other really good athletes, but she needs to improve that in the upcoming years. But I still believe she's a legit all-star because all the rest of things that she does. Her court vision's amazing. She makes her teammates around her better. Indiana Fever are having a good year this year. They made the playoffs last year. Right now, if the season ended today, they'll be in the playoffs again. She's the stat stuffer. I mean, she averages 5 rebounds a game, almost 9 assists a game, 1.6 steals a game. But she has only averaged 16.5 points a game. It was around 18 points, but with her injuries, it's been dropping. Last year, she averaged about 17.5 points a game, so it's basically about the same. And her shooting percentages are about the same. And again, that's where I think she needs to get better. She does need to improve her shooting. That is the one thing I would say against her. But everything else about her is pretty much lights out. Great teammate, great passer, just great all-around player. Like I said, stat stuffer, man. Shoots over 9% from her free throw line. Like she's almost automatic. A lot of good things. I want to bring up Brittany Griner. That's another big controversy. Brittany Griner has every right to think what she wants. That's why America is a free country, the home of the free, land of the brave, kind of deal. I served 26 years in the Navy, so she has the right to her opinion. I did 26 years in the Navy, so people can have their right to opinion, whether you agree, disagree. But there are a lot of controversial things about her. Her also being in jail in Russia for several months. Yes, in the United States, she wouldn't go to jail for having some of the vapes, wherever she had, the drug paraphernalia, but she doesn't know what country she's going to, because in Russia, that's a no bueno. So she needs to respect their rules. And it's like me being in the Navy, we went to a lot of foreign port visits and we had to respect the rules. We didn't, we got in a lot of trouble. So Singapore was one of those countries, man. Like, you can get caned. And I went to Singapore several times, so I know. Thank goodness I never got caned. I always follow the rules, but you have to follow other countries' rules. You have to respect their rules. She did not. Does she deserve to be in jail for as long as she was? I don't know. But the controversy around her is she says she hates America. Like I said, she has a right to her opinion, but America got her out of jail. So that's interesting. You hate America, but President Biden at the time got you out of jail. Instead of a Marine who was over in Russia for like God knows how long. He was in jail for a really long time, and he defended our country, and they chose her over him. So that's kind of interesting. I know it's very controversial, but that's interesting, right? She's trying to become a man. I don't care about people's lifestyles. Like, whether I agree with it or not, doesn't matter, as long as you work hard. You make a living. You're honest. You're not a cheater. You don't steal. You just try to do everything you can to be the best person you can be. Like, I won't judge people's lifestyles. That's for God to judge. But her becoming a man is kind of controversial, though. At least it looks like she's trying to be. I know there's some controversy around her saying, like the boxer in Olympics, with the controversy about guy used to be a man, became a woman, and they're saying he had too much testosterone, like he or she had too much testosterone. Like, in regular boxing, that fighter would have not been allowed to fight, but it was allowed in the Olympics. That was controversial, and I guess the reason why I'm saying that is because is Brittany Griner becoming the same thing? Because it's a women's league, right? So I don't know. I know it's very controversial. I'm not arguing her lifestyle change, but it's just very interesting, to say the least. I want to know your thoughts on that, because if she fails some test, is she going to be able to play in the WNBA? She won't be able to make it in the NBA. I know that. They're way too much bigger, faster, more physical. Brittany Griner would not survive in the NBA. No doubt. So I know that I will put my paycheck on that. But anyways, what are your thoughts about the All-Star game? What are your thoughts? Just recapping before I close here. I thought the All-Star game was boring, but there was a lot of good things about it. I think the WNBA needs to be careful not to turn into the NBA, where these All-Star games are really boring, or they're jacking up too many 3-point shots. WNBA needs to be careful how they treat Caitlin Clark. She's their cash cow, but if they're not careful, I think they can self-implode. I said that last year, and I still think that's true this year. But they're doing good now. They are on the WNBA is on the rise, so good on them for that. But I still think they need to be careful. I think there's still a lot that remains to be seen. 4-point shots in the All-Star game. What are your thoughts? Hats off, like I said, to the viewers, over 4 million viewers. Like I said before, that's the most they've ever had. So good on the women for that. Thoughts on Brittany Griner, I just mentioned at the very end of the show. Thoughts on, Skylar-Diggins getting a triple double, which is awesome. Collier's breaking the scoring record for the All-Star game 30 times. That's awesome. So there are some good things about this, but I still know what to think about the WNBA, to make a long story short, past 25 minutes. But I just kind of 50-50 on the whole thing. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? I talk to you later. Have a good afternoon, people. Peace.